Okay. Why do you have low self-esteem? Or why do people have low self-esteem? Right? I strongly believe that majority, unless you're physically attractive and unless you have a really good personality and, you know, you don't have much trauma, right? I strongly believe, which is, I would consider the minority of the population, for people that are physically attractive, have a good childhood, um, and don't have any mental disorders. I would consider those people would be like the minority, and they wouldn't have a high self esteem, but they wouldn't really have to worry about low self esteem, right? And I'll explain what a high self esteem is. Probably not in this video, but maybe in another video. First of all, I just need to explain what self esteem is. But and I need to work on saying a lot. But self esteem is how you view yourself or how you perceive yourself, the mental image of yourself. When you think about yourself, whatever comes up when you think about yourself is your self-esteem. That is what you call self-esteem, your mental image of yourself, right? And if you have a poor image of yourself, if you view yourself poorly or low, then you have a low self-esteem, right? And how do you know if you view yourself low or poorly? At least for me personally speaking, I couldn't really like understand what low self-esteem is or understand how I had a low self-esteem and like what really like defines a low self-esteem or just self-esteem in general, right? Like I just said, it's how you view and perceive yourself, right? So me just looking in the looking in the mirror and looking at my reflection, that can be, my self-esteem, right? How I view myself, how I view myself in the mirror, right? How I feel about myself physically, right? And I do have some physical insecurities. And I guess for this video, I'll go over them. Just because yeah, it's part of the video. But even though it's gonna make me uncomfortable talking about my insecurities like anybody, but why not? So part of my insecurities is I got some patches in my beard, and when I look in the mirror, I see it, and it kind of bothers me every time. And I try to like fix up my beard, and I try to trim it and everything to make it nice, but it still bothers me that there's still some patches even though I'm 22. And that's just one insecurity. Another insecurity is that I bite my lips a lot. Like out of stress and anxiety, I'll just bite my lips and I'll pick at it and stuff like that. And when I pick at it too much, it will bleed and blister. And you can already kind of like right here too, you can kind of see where like I'm biting, and like that bothers me too, because when I look in the mirror, I can see where I'm biting my lip, and that kind of hurts my self-esteem every time I look in the mirror. So that would just be a physical self-esteem, right? Which a lot of people kind of run on, but that isn't your entire self-esteem, right? And I kind of like, since I'm trying to understand psychology, and I'm studying psychology, and I'm trying to understand myself and everyone else. I need to fully understand what self-esteem is, more than just a physical representation of self-esteem, like looking in the mirror and having some physical insecurities, right? Because to be honest with you, I can't speak. The type of person I am, I'm in the clouds. My mind is in the clouds. My mind is in space. My mind is in outer space, right? Like I'm constant, because I'm a daydreamer. I love daydreaming. I love being in my imagination. I love trying to entertain myself with my own mind, right? That's just the type. I've always been that way, actually, since I can remember in school. And that doesn't make me exempt from the physical reality or physical insecurities or physical self-esteem. But what that does is it makes me not care about it as much, because it's like, and especially since I not gave up fully, but I just changed my standards of dating and having a relationship. Any relationships, not even a romantic one, but I'm talking about friendships and stuff like that, right? I try to be caring and kind to everyone I meet, and the people in my life, especially my old friends and my family, right? But there's certain people that, like, if I I care about my alone time. I love my alone time, right? And you would have to, in order for me to develop a really good friendship with someone. I can't think of the word, or best friendship, or what, best friend, in order to be, for me to be best friends with somebody, or really good friends with someone, or even have a romantic relationship, you have to be able to compete with my alone time, right? And really, it's only one requirement. It's not that I have super high standards, right? I don't view myself that highly where you got to be this and that and that. Like, I have a whole list that you have to meet. You know, you have to be completely perfect in order to be my friend. No, that is not at all, right? It is literally just one thing. If you have a curiosity for psychology, if you love to learn about psychology just as much as me, then we will be really good friends. Then we could have a relationship, whether it be romantic or just platonic friendships, right? That is the only requirement that I have, right? But, you know, since when I had a very low self-esteem at one point, and I was really struggling with loneliness, I was very needy and desperate, and I just could not be alone with myself, right? And since I could not even know myself, you know, at that point, and that's probably part of the reasons why I had low self-esteem. But since I didn't know myself, and I, you know, couldn't be alone with myself, and I couldn't, you know, do that, then I would be with anybody, no matter how bad of a match we are. You know, if I, you know, had a girlfriend that literally we were not supposed to be together at all, but it was just like more of like it was just, it was like, hey, she used me, I used her. It was just kind of like friends with benefits, not even a friend, but hey, she had something I wanted, which was, you know, I wanted to lose my virginity, and she had something I wanted, which was money, and yeah, but now I don't even want to go into that, but the whole thing, what I'm trying to get at is, what was I trying to get at? I didn't know myself, and I was around people that I wasn't really supposed to be around, but I just I didn't want to. I wasn't around them because I wanted to hang out with them and spend time with them, and I was really good friends with them. No, I was around them because I could not be alone with myself. Like, I just could not be by myself, right? And since I could not be by myself, it doesn't matter really who it was. Anybody that would give me their time and their attention, that was enough for me, because that took my attention and my focus away from the dark thoughts that I was running from. But anyways, right? So yeah, once I was able to overcome loneliness, which how I did that, by the way, and I've already made a video how to create art out of boredom and loneliness. Highly recommend you watch that. All the videos that I've uploaded, like the past 5-6 videos I've uploaded, they're all connected. They all go together. Like, there's no, like, you know, I'm not making a video that's outside of, you know, what I'm really like. It's all the same message. It's just coming at it from different angles, or not even different angles, but trying to hit it from multiple different points. But yeah, once I was able to overcome my loneliness, which all I needed to do was learn how to journal, learn how to speak on camera, and learn how to write and communicate my thoughts on my own, right? And that was enough for me. You know, once I got in the habit of doing that, I was able to overcome my loneliness. And then I had learned how to heal my trauma too, which I will make a video in the future about how to overcome trauma and how you heal your trauma. I learned how to do that, and you know, I figured out how to find myself, love myself, and I figured out who I was, right? And by doing that, by going to through that process of self-discovery, I was able to not completely overcome my low self-esteem, but overcome it to the point of not being so needy for other people, right? And I still have technically a low self-esteem, which is what I'm about to go into, right? I truly believe that low self-esteem, I mean, yeah, okay. I believe your low self-esteem, it really doesn't matter about physical insecurities or anything physically. Like, how you view yourself physically, right? Like me having patches in my beard, or, you know, me being insecure about my lips or whatever, or even my hair. Like, if I can't do my hair right, you know, I'll be a little insecure about that, right? Those aren't really a big deal more than, that's interesting. But those aren't really a big deal. But what is more of a big deal for our self-esteem, and I'm talking about our overall self-esteem, I'm talking about how we view ourselves not even just looking in the mirror, but I'm talking about how we view ourselves based off of our family, how we view ourselves in our place in our family, how we view ourselves in our place in our work, how we view ourselves in the place in the world, our place in the world, right? How we view ourselves in terms of knowing our purpose and knowing who we are and knowing what we enjoy most in life and knowing like that type of view, you know. And so I'm trying to think of like a better way to explain this, right? Like okay, let me start with the world, right? How do I view myself in terms of the world, right? Where is my place in the world, right? And I think this is a problem or a worry that a lot of people deal with, right? Is finding their place in the world, right? My purpose in my right now I work as XPs, right? But that is not my place in the world. I mean, technically right now it is, but that is not my purpose. But technically right now it is, but that's not my main purpose, right? You know, I truly believe that everyone has a unique purpose that is, you know, I mean, whether you're aware of it or not, you know, everyone does have one, right? You know, like how there's multiple different trees, right? You have apple trees, you got banana trees, you got pine cone trees, right? You have multiple different trees that produce something unique, right? We are all trees that have something unique to produce, to give to the world, right? To give to other people that will make other people's lives better. And for me, it's psychology, right? It's the simple fact of, okay, here it is, right here. I'll word it like this. And this video is all over the place, but if you're following me, you understand what I'm saying. So, how we view ourselves and how, you know, the value that we see, you know, and the value that we think we have, right? Or how we view ourselves and the value we have to offer to the world, right? Is based off of how we react to our boredom. And I'll repeat that. How we view ourselves and the value that we have to offer to the world is based off of how we react to our boredom. And I'll explain. So think about it like this. Self-esteem is how you view yourself, right? So I'll give you an example. Let's say out of boredom, I watch pornography. Then I would be considered, wait, okay, there we go. Let me just start with here. Let's just say, my bad. Sorry, I'm all over the place, but let's just say out of boredom, right? Just out of pure boredom, not even counting trauma, not even counting all the other stuff, right? Out of boredom, I watch pornography, right? And then out of boredom, I smoke weed. And then out of boredom, I eat a whole bunch of sugar, right? And out of boredom, what's another thing I could do? I play video games, right? So let's say I do all these things out of boredom, just pure boredom, right? What would that make me into, or how would I, based off of that, right? Based off of me doing those things out of my boredom, right? Which determines who I am and my personality, or not my personality, but my identity, which I'll go over in a second. But, yeah, how does that affect my self-esteem, right? So if I watch pornography, then even though it might feel good in the moment, that it's a very selfish enjoyment or a selfish pleasure, right? And I would, you know, my generation, the internet meme or whatever, the label for it is Coomer. So when that watches porn or masturbates, right, you would be considered a Coomer, right? Which is part of low self-esteem. If you saw yourself as a Coomer, right? Because that is a waste of time. That is a selfish pleasure that you cannot share with anyone else. I mean, you could try to share that and like say, hey, you can find a really good porn that you watch and send it to people. But like, no, that really wouldn't work though. But yeah, it's just a very selfish desire, right? It's a very selfish pleasure that you take upon or you do because of your boredom, right? And yeah, you can't really communicate, you can't share this with the world and make the world a better, happier place, right? And so because of that, you do this thing out of boredom, right? That is very selfish and it doesn't have any results. It doesn't have any returns and investment. It doesn't have any there is nothing but a 5-second high from an orgasm. That's all it is. and would, make you forget about life and reality for a short period of time. But because of that, you might not think it affects your self-esteem, but it does, because you doing that wastes time, it wastes energy, right? And you have a low self-esteem, you view yourself poorly, because when you think of yourself, when you watch pornography, you view yourself as a coomer, right? Or coomer, right? Or even if it was just smoking weed, smoking weed is a very selfish desire. And yes, you could probably try to be a weed dealer and sell weed to people, or not even sell weed to people, but give people free weed or whatever, right? But you could try to do that, but you have to understand that that is a selfish pleasure, just like pornography, right? And there's not really any value that you can get from that you can give to the world. And because of that too, that also gives you a low self-esteem, because you view yourself as a stoner. And now stoner doesn't really sound like a negative thing, but especially if you know what weed does to your psyche, it makes you lazy and all of that stuff, right? Then you understand how it does affect your low self-esteem. And the fact that if you can't quit pornography and you can't quit weed or whatever, then that is also signs of an addiction. And not even, it's signs of an addiction. And if you don't try to get rid of that, remove that from your identity, then you are almost a slave to these things. And because you are a slave to these things, it's draining, like I said, it's draining your time, it's draining your energy, and it's not giving you value, it's not giving anybody else in the world value, right? And so that causes and affects your low self-esteem. And like I said, not even just that, like I said, with video games, you would be considered a gamer, which a gamer, it doesn't sound, like I said, just like stoner, it doesn't sound like a negative label, but if you really think about it, think about how much time you waste playing video games, think about how much of a selfish desire that is, or selfish pleasure that is. It really doesn't give the value to the world and makes the world a better place. That is what we're really trying to work on, right? Is how can we react to our boredom? How can we find things that we enjoy doing when we're bored, that we can learn how to communicate to the world, where we can share our enjoyment with the world and inspire the world and inspire ourselves, and like I said, make the world a better place. Like for me, psychology, I love learning about psychology. Every time I find something useful and I find something, a piece of information or a lesson that's very valuable, I try to communicate that with my YouTube channel or with the book I'm writing. And that is the process that I am doing, right? Is that I have this thing that I really love, that I really enjoy learning about, right? And it's not a selfish desire, because I really enjoy learning about it, and I can also teach it and communicate that enjoyment that I get from it, and make other people's lives better, and make other people more aware of themselves, and make other people smarter. Like it's a type of process of, hey, I help myself, I do something that I enjoy, and I learn how to share that with other people in the world and make the world a better place, if that makes sense. And so, or like you eating a bunch of sugar, right? That would be a selfish desire too, or selfish pleasure. And the label that I can think of probably that best fits that is fat. You'll be considered fat, right? Which that is also probably a negative label. But yeah, you have all these labels, right? At least I'm talking about myself specifically, right? You have coomer, you have stoner, you have gamer, you have fat, right? You have all these labels that define who you are because of how you react to your boredom and all of these actions that you do and your behavior, right? And so all of these labels are just labels of your behavior and your actions, right? It's not labels that were forced on you or are cursed on you. It is you do something, right? Whether probably out of boredom, more likely out of boredom, right? And you do that every day, then you get the label of stoner, you get the label of coomer, right? And these are negative labels. These are low self-esteem labels, right? And if I work on removing these labels, and I work on my actions and my behavior in terms of not watching pornography out of boredom, and not playing video games out of boredom, not smoking weed out of video games, then these labels will be removed from my identity. Almost like if I'm killing a part of myself, right? And I can also, I can work on other things, right? That will bring me enjoyment and satisfy my boredom, but also will bring me value and allow me to communicate that enjoyment and communicate that enjoyment and give value and inspiration to the world by teaching and communicating that, right? So it's a whole process. You I don't know, I'm really doing a bad job of explaining this, but when you do that, yeah, like for example, right, for me in psychology, right, if I remove all those labels of stoner, of gamer, of coomer, of fat, right, if I remove all those labels, right, from my identity, and I stop doing the actions that give me those labels in the first place, right, then the only labels that I will have would be, since I'm, really diving into psychology, then I could, especially if I get a psychology degree, I could give myself the label of a psychologist, right? I could give myself, especially if I get into politics, I could give myself the label of politician, right? And especially if I try to be more loving and I try to be more kind and I try to be, a better, good person for the world, right? I could give myself positive labels, right? And so by changing my behavior, by changing my actions, by changing how I react to my boredom, it determines who I am, right? And it would determine my identity. Your identity is determined based off of how you react to your boredom. And so yeah, if you have a low self-esteem, it's because you're doing very selfish, low actions in order to satisfy your boredom. Whatever you're doing to satisfy your boredom is very selfish, right? And so because of that, that causes your low self-esteem. And so if you change that to doing, if you change how you react to your boredom, in terms of, hey, you read psychology books, hey, you watch podcasts or videos or lectures or whatever of psychology. At least I'm just speaking about me, but if I work on increasing my value, right, and doing things that aren't really selfish but selfless, right, I do things that will give me value, but also in the long run help me give other people value, right? And this is kind of what you kind of need to be working on towards, is how can I give myself value, myself enjoyment, but later on be able to give that same enjoyment and that same value to the world. And this will flip your low self-esteem and you will have a high self-esteem. And so it's no longer about how you view yourself in the mirror and in your physical self-esteem. This is more about spiritual. This is more psychological. This is more mental, right? It's emotional. We're stepping out of the physical reality, if that makes sense. Sorry, I'm kind of like going on a tangent or kind of, but yeah, that is pretty much it. It's like you change how you react to your boredom and you try to make you try to change the behavior or the actions and towards something that, like I said, will bring you value and bring you enjoyment, but later on will bring enjoyment, and which you later on you can communicate that enjoyment and that value that you got and give it to other people and give inspiration to the world, right? And like I said, make the world a better place. And yeah, that is pretty much it. That is all I can think of. I'm trying to think of anything else that I can add to it. Yeah, you're just gonna have to, and I'll make a video talking about boredom again. And I've already got a video talking about how to navigate boredom, and I already got a video talking about how to create art of boredom and loneliness. Highly recommend you watch that. But I'll make more videos talking about this. But yeah, that's pretty much all I can say, or yeah. But yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one.